Why not a single Pakistani American has won Congress, and why this 1.5 million strong community is still a spectator? This and much more we are going to discuss today. I am your host Ann and you are watching This Is The Show. Countdown to November 3rd presidential election has started. Either Joe Biden will snatch the White House or President Trump wins re-election. The fate of a number of congresspersons is also on the cards. But where do Pakistani Americans stand? We are going to discuss this in a while, but first a report by our correspondent Minahil on this issue.
Countdown to one of the most crucial presidential elections has started. On November 3rd, United States will re-elect President Trump or his Democrat challenger Joe Biden. All 435 seats in the House and 34 of the 100 seats in the Senate will also be up for grabs. But there is almost no chance that any American Pakistani will make it to the Congress. To be on the ballot, one has to win primary, as none could make secure party tickets, so virtually they will remain as bystander. Thanks to President Trump's policies, a number of Pakistani Americans had contested midterm elections. Some got successful in winning the seats as well, but those were either at city or at state level. Amazingly, a significant number of women have also won seats. Over the last few years, Pakistani Americans have started taking interest in active politics. Personalities like J. Jalisi, Tahir Javed and Afzal Agha have tried their luck but lost badly. Asif Mahmood, who fought for insurance commissioner in California, made history by bagging 8,46,000 votes but still couldn't make it. The question is, why Pakistani Americans are far behind in local politics than their counterpart in Britain, Canada and even Australia.
Here we are joined by Member British Parliament Khalid Mahmood, elected representatives from California including Mayor Taj, Councillor Farah and Sabina, Democrat Tahir Javed, Republican Sajid Tarar and Professor Naeem Zafar. Khalid Mahmood sahab, I think you are the only British Pakistani Member of Parliament who is in the Parliament since 2001. What is the key to your success? Is it because black and minority ethnic group supports you?
The key to my success, I suppose, is treating everybody like a human being. In my constituency in Birmingham, Perry Barr, there are a number of significant communities, which are Sikh, Indian, which is a reasonable number, Afro-Caribbean community. There is of course, Pakistani community and a smaller Bengali community. The majority community in my constituency is indigenous white Burmese, who are the majority and have been since 2001. And they all vote for me, basically because this is not about any particular community. This is about standing for your principles and making sure that people understand what your principles are and how you represent them. So once you get in, you've got to carry on doing the work, which is the most important thing.
Tahir Javed sahab, you had tried to represent Texas 29th Congressional District but lost the Democratic primary. When you look back and reflect, what do you think were the drawbacks?
Election के अंदर, if I look back and look at it, obviously with your experience you can do a lot better moving forward. But मैं फिर भी कहूँगा कि मेरा जो election था उसके अंदर it was uphill battle, लेकिन हमने एक बड़ा अच्छा एक image छोड़ा कि we put up a fight जिसमें 5% के डिफरेंस से मैं इलेक्शन के अंदर अगर 5% वोट और होते तो डिफरेंस और होता उसका, और बड़े पैशन के साथ 1000 से ऊपर वॉलंटियर्स थे और हमने जितने उसके अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट होनी चाहिए थी उससे कई गुना ज़्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट भी की थी. Everybody across the country figured out that somebody is running an election. I don't think I have any regret that I should have done something. I didn't do it. लेकिन फिर भी मैं समझता हूँ कि there is always you can get more organized, you can get more like hands-on job और आपके experience भी आ जाता है, तो next time it will be a lot better than we did. लेकिन ये है कि it was a good experience and now I know what to do and how to win election. If I go back, I can do it a lot better. जी.
Mayor Taj, in your Democrat state, we see a number of American Pakistani councillors. But why there is still not a single congressperson from this community?
Thank you for having me on this Zafar News. Some of the questions which were asked earlier is why we see a lot of councillors and are not making to the Congress, and mostly Pakistani Americans. And the reason I see that is because most of these council members or mayors, they are really and this is the first generation which is entering into politics. And if we look at organic growth, they're well in line to become Congress members over a period of time, entering into local bodies, which is city council races, school board races, and then county as well as state. And then maybe after that, we can look at getting into Congress. But again, it's a process that takes time, and someone entering into politics, a community like Pakistani American, in almost about 5 or maybe even 10 years ago, it will take a little bit of a time, and we will see that organic growth over time.
Sabina Sahiba, the strength of every single ethnic community lies in the number of legislatures it sends to the Congress or gubernatorial positions. Why American Pakistanis remain spectator when it comes to national politics?
Well, to your question, why Pakistanis still remain as spectators at the when it comes to national politics, one of the reasons is Pakistanis right now are either first or second generation that have built their lives, that have come to the US and really settled as a community. And we really need, as Pakistanis, first need to start thinking about getting involved at the local level. We need to think about getting involved at school district level, at city council levels, at school boards, at county boards, because that's where, when you start looking at a lot of congressional candidates that do get involved, start there and start by volunteering, start by being part of their community. And that's really how you learn to build that bench. That's how you get identified as a candidate that can then go into national politics as well. So I would say, first and foremost, as a community, we need to start getting involved at our local level, at a very small level first. And that's really how we're going to build a bench for getting recognized and involved at the national level.
Farah Sahiba, in your Democrat state, there are a number of American Pakistani councillors. But why there is still not a single congressperson from this community?
When it comes to politics, it's very important for our community members to understand really what it takes to reach the congressional level. And a lot of times we'll have brand new candidates that we don't know that well, or maybe aren't vested in their community, run for office and end up failing. What we really need are people that are very involved in their community, in their district, that are involved in the party, that have connections or have made connections with others that are elected, to then come and show their interest and work their way through into having a successful campaign and actually winning a seat. I think as we move forward, we just can't rely on the support of Pakistani Americans when it comes to the voting bloc. You have to have a broad base of supporters, especially to win a seat like a congressional seat.
Sajid Tara Sahab, we don't see many Pakistani American Republicans contesting elections. Is it because your party doesn't award tickets or Pakistanis don't come forward?
यहाँ पे पाकिस्तानी अमेरिकों का सियासत में हिस्सा लेना सिर्फ कोई रिपब्लिकन पार्टी का इशू नहीं है। डेमोक्रेट पार्टी के में भी कौन सा पाकिस्तानी इलेक्शन लड़ रहे हैं। हैरानगी वाली बात है, हमारी सबसे ज़्यादा कम्युनिटी न्यूयॉर्क में है और न्यूयॉर्क में एक भी काउंसिलमैन नहीं, कांग्रेसमैन तो बहुत दूर की बात है, वहाँ एक भी काउंसिलमैन जो है वो पाकिस्तानी नहीं है जो पाकिस्तान को रिप्रेजेंट कर सके। दरअसल पाकिस्तानी ज़्यादातर, जो मेरा ज़ाती ख्याल है कि पाकिस्तानी ज़्यादातर जब आते हैं अमेरिका में तो कंफ्यूज रहते हैं कि आइदर उन्होंने पाकिस्तान में रहना है या उन्होंने अमेरिका में परमानेंट रहना है। यहाँ पे हर शहर में पीटीआई के 2-2, 4-4 ग्रुप बन चुके हैं, पीपल्स पार्टी के ग्रुप हैं, यहाँ पे नून लीग के ग्रुप हैं, एक दूसरे के साथ मुसलसल लड़ाइयों में शामिल होते हैं, पैसे इकट्ठे करने के, पाकिस्तान जाने के, आने के। वो सिर्फ पाकिस्तान की सियासत में सरगर्म रहते हैं। उनको कोई पता नहीं कि पाकिस्तानी के रिपब्लिकन और डेमोक्रेट पार्टी का मैंडेट क्या है। आप इलेक्शन की बात करते हैं, ये तो मर्दमशुमारी में हिस्सा लेने से भी बेजार हैं, मर्दमशुमारी में भी हिस्सा नहीं लेते। ये एक बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है और जो आगे अगर हमने इसको जल्दी सॉल्व ना किया तो इशू बनेगा। यहाँ अमेरिका में इस वक्त इथियोपियन सोमालियन आपको मिल जाएंगे कांग्रेसमैन, लेकिन पाकिस्तानी कांग्रेसमैन नहीं है। ये अफसोस की बात है। ये सिर्फ एक रिपब्लिकन पार्टी का इशू नहीं है, ये डेमोक्रेट पार्टी में भी इशू चल रहा है। हमें लोगों को सियासी शऊर की ज़रूरत है, सियासी टॉलरेंस की ज़रूरत है, सियासत में पार्टिसिपेट और कंट्रीब्यूशन की ज़रूरत है, और इसमें हमारा फुकदान है। हम दूसरे लोगों से बहुत पीछे, दूसरी कौमों से बहुत पीछे हैं, बिलखसूस इंडियन से। हमारी वाशिंगटन डीसी में हार्डली एनी रिप्रेजेंटेशन है, जो कि हमारे लिए इन द फ्यूचर में एक बहुत बड़ा खतरा बन सकती है।
Professor Naeem Zafar, we see a number of Pakistani community leaders active when ministers or opposition leaders visit USA. Why our community opens chapters of Pakistani political parties? Shouldn't they join the leading local parties?
I think the Pakistani community in USA is still early in its political formation. They haven't figured out how to be impactful. There are 508,000, almost 500,000, 5 lakh Pakistanis in America. So this is normal. So people are still trying to figure out how to make a voice, who speaks for them, how can they be part of party and have a voice. So, we have seen that with every other community, with Italians, with Chinese, with Indians. There's a process of getting to a certain stage in the community locally and then have a political voice. And there are several examples that it is happening, but it's just slower than it is with Indians and some other communities.
Professor Fazan, do you agree?
You see, we are so heavily involved in Pakistan and Pakistani affairs, and we are engaged. We are very patriotic citizens in that way. But what it does, it keeps our focus away from where we live. And we keep ourselves dividing ourselves, slicing ourselves in these small segments in the terms of Pakistani political parties such as Pakistan People's Party, Muslim League Noon, PTI. So it keeps our focus away from where we should be focused, and that is living our lives in the context of the country that we have chosen for our citizenship. And but the conscientiousness in that is changing as the new generation is coming up, new generation of leaders who are involved in the local processes.
Khalid Mahmood sir, what makes gelling in with other communities easier? After all, you are elected for the 6th time. How can one build trust among different communities?
You build trust in communities by engaging with them, by ensuring that they understand that you're their member of parliament and they don't feel different from any one community. All communities, including if you're a Pakistani heritage or a Muslim heritage, that you've got to then go out to all of the communities and treat them exactly the same. So they believe that somebody who's representing them is representing the whole of the constituency, and it's got to be based on policies that affect your constituents. And that's the most important thing. So if you believe that you want to do this, you have to do it for delivery of public service, but delivery on policies of the national parties and what issues you believe locally as well.
Tahir Javed sir, how challenging it is for Pakistani Americans to garner support from, say, South Asians, Southeast Asians or Spanish Americans?
इसके अंदर जो बाकी कम्युनिटीज़ हैं ना, ऑब्वियसली जो आप इसमें वाइट अमेरिकन, ब्लैक अमेरिकन, लैटिनो अमेरिकन, बाकी लोग बैठे हैं। मेरा सजेशन ये है कि जहाँ पे भी कोई बंदा पाकिस्तानी इलेक्शन में आए ना, तो उसको कम से कम एक देखे कि उस डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अंदर 10,000 वोट पाकिस्तानियों के अगर हों, तो आपको एक पॉकेट ऐसी मिल जाती है जो आपके यानी आपके अपने वोट्स हैं या मुसलमानों की एटलीस्ट हो, तो मुसलमान आपको वोट दे देंगे, उनको आप मोटिवेट कर लेते हैं प्राइमरी इलेक्शन के अंदर। फिर जो बाकी आपको 1,00,000 1,50,000 वोट और चाहिए होता है, वो आपके पीछे फिर बिल्ड होना शुरू हो जाता है। लेकिन अगर आपके किसी डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अंदर आपके जो अपनी एथनिसिटी के वोट बिल्कुल कम हो, तो थोड़ी सी ये टफ सिचुएशन रहती है। लेकिन दूसरी जो एथनिसिटीज़ हैं उनको अपने साथ मिलाना इज़ रियली नॉट अ बिग डील। आपका मैसेज क्लीन होना चाहिए, आपका रिकॉर्ड क्लीन होना चाहिए, आपके अंदर पैशन होना चाहिए, और आपका मैसेज लोगों को राइट तरीके से अगर डिलीवर हो जाता है, तो पीपल डू अंडरस्टैंड कि यस, हर किसी को इस मुल्क के अंदर मौका मिलना चाहिए और मिलता भी है, जिसकी वजह से हमने लोगों को हिजाबी ख़वातीन को भी इलेक्ट होते हुए देखा है। और इसके अंदर हमने बहुत सारे दूसरी एथनिसिटी के लोगों को भी, लेकिन पाकिस्तानियों के अंदर मैं समझता हूँ मेरे से पहले कोई सीरियस एफर्ट हुई नहीं है। मैंने भी जो एफर्ट की थी उसके अंदर जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट था, उस डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अंदर मैं एक ही चीज़ समझता हूँ कि हमारे अपने लोगों के बिल्कुल कोई वोट नहीं थे। अगर कोई ऐसा डिस्ट्रिक्ट ओपन होता जिसमें हमारे लोगों के वोट होते, वी वुड हैव मे बी अ लिटिल डिफरेंट उसके अंदर रिजल्ट हो सकता है।
Mayor Taj, we have seen more Democrats contesting elections in the last 4 years. Was it Trump factor that has alarmed them to come out and contest?
Democrats entering into the race after 2016 and entering into several races, I look at different a combination of reasons. I also look at historic reasons. Historic reasons could be, we've seen that in this 2016, the Republicans have taken the House as well as they've taken the Senate as a majority. So Democrats felt, okay, well now we have to really focus on getting the House, which they did in 2018. And we've seen this historically, even with Democrats, when Democrats were in the House as a majority, then Republicans came and took over. So it's that cycle that continues to go on in our country over time, and I see that happening historically, and we will see that happening even in this coming election.
Farah Saiba, in midterm, a number of Pakistani Democrats contested and won local elections. Are you among those who give credit to President Trump for this so-called awakening?
Definitely, having Trump in office has awakened the community. When you see your rights being taken away day by day with every action, there's nothing more that will get people moving than seeing that. And right now what we're seeing are more Pakistani Americans not only running for office but getting involved in politics, which is really crucial because, again, there's a saying here, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're basically on the menu. And so I encourage more and more people to get involved and take action because really that's what we need moving forward. We need that involvement.
Tarar Sahab, we have seen a number of Pakistani Americans coming out to contest midterm. Some of them thank President Trump for so-called awakening. How do you respond?
यहाँ टिकट देने का एक प्रोसेस होता है। आपने जिस तरह खड़े होते हैं, हर जब इलेक्शन होते हैं प्राइमरी में लोग खड़े होते हैं और प्राइमरी में जिन लोगों को प्राइमरी में जीतते हैं तो पार्टी ने उनको टिकट देना ही होता है। उसमें यह नहीं होता कि अगर कोई पाकिस्तानी जीतेगा तो उसको पार्टी टिकट नहीं देगी। मैंने पहले भी कई दफा आपको बताया है, यहाँ पे रिपब्लिकन पार्टी में दो एक लेजेंडरी नाम, बॉबी जिंदल और निकी हेली, जो कि स्टेटों के गवर्नर रह चुके हैं। निकी हेली इस वक्त यूनाइटेड नेशन में रिप्रेजेंटेटिव थी कुछ अर्से पहले तक, अभी आगे वाइस प्रेसिडेंशियल के प्रेसिडेंशियल कैंडिडेट बनने की कोशिश कर रही है। दोनों इंडियन डिसेंट से हैं। मेरा ये क्वेश्चन मार्क है, क्या डेमोक्रेट पार्टी पाकिस्तानियों को या मुसलमानों को उस लेवल तक ले जा सकेगी? मेरा ये बहुत बड़ा डाउट है।
Sabina Saiba, many Democrats feel proud of rubbing shoulders with top Democrat leaders, including President of the United States or foreign secretaries. Why don't they step up and ask for congressional seats to represent their strength in the country?
So again, I think it comes to understanding the lay of the land, the politics of the country, and we are a very young community in the United States. And although it's wonderful to get involved at the congressional level, it's not very easy. A lot of it is, in many ways, it is not very different from the way things are run in Pakistan. The people you see at the national level, at the federal level, at the provincial level in Pakistan, they generally come from a pedigree of people who've been running for years and years. There's family, there is people who have been involved in politics for a very, very long time, that get involved in at the federal level, at the professional level in Pakistan. It's very similar here. In a lot of ways, people who do run have families who've been doing this for years, right? There are very few examples of the AOCs or the young congressional members that you see come up. That's an anomaly. So my suggestion is that yes, that's one way of getting involved, by getting involved with your congressperson. But you also, again, in my opinion, should start getting involved at all levels of government. Because that is really going to help you understand the politics of the country and take you at the congressional level. Sometimes I do see people who are very motivated to just go straight and run for Congress, and they're not successful because they haven't done their homework, they haven't done their background, they haven't really have a good understanding of what the seat entails to win the election. And if they were to get more involved at a local level, and then step up to run for Congress or at a state level, then that's probably going to make them much more successful.
Professor Naeem Zafar, Palestinian American, Somalian American, Bangladeshi American, and a number of Indian Americans have got elected to Congress. Why not a single Pakistani American?
You are correct. No Pakistani American has been elected to Congress yet. But there is a big difference. They are beginning to get organized and beginning to rise. So you see Pakistanis already in state level government. Virginia mein a Pakistani Khatun got elected, and many more at the city level. Mayors, vice mayors, jahan hum rehte hain Silicon Valley mein. So there also Javed Elahi Saab is on the city government. And Jabin also got elected in Danville. So I think you're seeing that trend is right. But it's starting with city government and state level legislature. I think give it another 15 to 20 years and you will see these voices in Congress. They have to prove themselves. You don't get to become a senator without paying your dues over time. And like I said, we have seen that with Somali and other communities, you have to pay your dues. The journey has started. 20 years ago, there was not a single Pakistani running for anything. And now you have several run every year for city level and state level government positions.
Professor, how do you respond?
You see, as far as the people of other ethnicities are concerned, there have been many successes in that. The Indian community has made a good effort. So have others. It depends on your enclaves. If they're enclaves and if you're involved in the local processes, then you can get ahead. America, it has a very, very open system, and in that way America welcomes all who wants to participate. Things are changing as the organization that we work with, APPAC, it has a mission to put 100 American Pakistanis into the electoral process by year 2020, and they have been quite successful. I think they have reached about 70 to 80% of their target. And it is a contribution towards our country of choice. As you bring your perspective, and we have a unique perspective on life and on to our culture, our values, and we can contribute that way to American future.
Khalid Mahmood sir, what message do you give to fellow Pakistani Americans who intend to contest elections? What should they focus on? What is the right strategy to join politics?
In order for you to join a political party, you have to understand what their policies are. Are you happy with their policies? Will you be able to canvass on those policies? Will you be able to put forward the views that the party has nationally on those issues? And that is very important, because if you find yourself conflicted with that, then there's a real problem, because you're not seen as a national politician, and therefore those policies are not being followed in the way that they should be. So it's extremely important that you look at the agenda, the policies, the structure of a party before you join it. Otherwise you'll become very, very depressed. And secondly, I would say to a lot of people as well, this is not a small game. This is not an easy game. This is not the fact that you join and you get elected. You have to work, you have to demonstrate within the party, you have to demonstrate to the members of that party that are aligned, and able to show them how active you can be, how well you understand the principles, and how you will carry on campaigning. I joined the Labour Party in 1982 with my father, and then I became a member of Parliament in 2001. So you can work out the level of work that needs to be done. I'm not saying it's necessary for everybody. I was a local councillor. It's not necessary for everybody to be a local councillor, but what is necessary is that you spend some time understanding what the policies are and whether you'll be happy to pursue those policies.
Tahir Javed Sahab, some say that one should contest elections as councillor, mayor, state representative and then stand for the Congress. Had you followed this path, do you think there were more chances for you to win seat?
जी, this is true कि वाकई आपको पॉलिटिक्स में आना जो भी पॉलिटिक्स में आना चाहता है तो थोड़ी अर्ली एज के ऊपर आना चाहिए ताकि आप नीचे से अपने आप को बिल्ड करके ऊपर आएँ, आपकी आईडी बिल्ड हो जाए, आप उसके अंदर जैसे छोटे छोटे पहले तो आप पार्टी के इलेक्शन लड़ें जिस पार्टी को आप बिलोंग करते हैं, फिर उसके बाद आहिस्ता आहिस्ता सिटी काउंसिल का हो गया या जस्टिस ऑफ पीस हो गया या फिर उसके बाद स्टेट रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, उसके बाद आप कांग्रेस की बात करें. दैट इज़ अ गुड राउट जिसके अंदर 2, 4, 5, 10, 15 साल के बाद आप कांग्रेस के इलेक्शन में जाते हैं, आपकी ग्रूमिंग हो चुकी होती है, आपकी फेस आईडी बन चुकी होती है, आपकी नेम आईडी बन चुकी होती है, थिंग्स गेट लिटिल बिट बेटर. मेरे अपने केस के अंदर थोड़ा फ़र्क ये था कि आई वाज इन द एज जिसके अंदर अगर मैं ये राउट पकड़ता तो आई वुड बी 15 साल के बाद मेरी एज वहाँ होती तो फिर वहाँ पे मेरे लिए वो उस कांग्रेस के इलेक्शन के अंदर जाने के लिए भी जो था वो इशू हो जाते. लेकिन मैं समझता हूँ कि मेरी नेम आईडी पहले से बनी हुई थी. मैं जब इलेक्शन लड़ा था तो उसके अंदर लीडर ऑफ द हाउस चक शूमर ने मुझे एंडोर्स किया और 6 सेनेटर्स ने मुझे एंडोर्स किया होता, हिलरी क्लिंटन ने मुझे, तो मेरे पास वो जो इनकी एंडोर्समेंट थी उसकी एक आईडी बन चुकी थी, तो वो भी एक डिफरेंस मेक करता है. लेकिन फॉर यंगस्टर्स, यंग पीपल जो समझ लें कि 20, 25, 30 साल के अंदर आना चाहते हैं, दे शुड टेक द स्मॉलर राउट एंड बिल्ड देयर आईडी एंड देन गो फॉर इट. और उसके अंदर ये ज़्यादा चांसेस बन जाते हैं जिसके अंदर ये. और मैं ये भी थोड़ा बताऊं कि थोड़ा सा अमेरिका के अंदर मुश्किल इसलिए भी होते हैं ये इलेक्शन कि डिस्ट्रिक्ट बड़े हैं. जैसे इंग्लैंड के अंदर और कनाडा के अंदर उनके डिस्ट्रिक्ट बहुत छोटे हैं, वहाँ पे इलेक्शन लड़ना इतना आसान है. यहाँ पे डिस्ट्रिक्ट बहुत बड़े हैं, उसके अंदर आपको ज़्यादा काम करना पड़ता है, ज़्यादा पैसा चाहिए होता है, ज़्यादा टाइम लगाना पड़ता है. तो देयर आर सम डिफरेंस बिटवीन कंट्री टू कंट्री. लेकिन इंशाल्लाह वेरी सून यू विल सी समबडी पाकिस्तानी guy elected in this country, inshallah, and a dream will come true.
Mayor Taj, a number of Pakistani American women like Sabina Zafar, Farah Khan and Rabia Collier have won seats. Still, they don't represent the Pakistani American women population. Are men holding them back?
Most communities are diverse communities, and those communities represent several ethnical background diversity as well as diversity when it comes to religious background and so on and so forth. So those ladies represent that diversity, especially in California, California being one of the most diverse states, as well as all these ladies who are representing these communities are coming from those communities which are really diverse communities or diverse cities. So in essence, they've done absolutely a fantastic job to represent those communities. Pakistani Americans are really very well spread out throughout the state, throughout other states as well. So there's not really a one huge concentration where one can say, okay, these are the only Pakistani American area or a city or a community. So they're very well spread out and thinly spread out. So that is another reason why there's not one representation of one community or a one council member or one representative.
Farah Saiba, this year, women from ethnic minorities have tried to contest presidential elections. Even Joe Biden is considering a woman of color as his running mate. What should be done to involve Pakistani American women in active politics so that they contest for congressional seats, if not gubernatorial positions?
Look, we've got an amazing amount of Pakistani American women that are already involved in politics, not just being elected officials, but working on campaigns and even working as legislative staff. What we need are more people to jump in. You know, we have programs available for people to get involved. We have grants that people can apply to go to Washington, D.C. and work in a congressional office, get that experience that's needed. Again, I can't stress enough the importance of knowing your community, being involved in your community, being involved in your party. And those are the key aspects of anyone that has any aspirations in running for office. You know, just have that broad base of support behind you. And I think as we move forward, we're going to see more and more women stepping forward, and that's exciting. When I got elected in 2018, you know, there wasn't much when it came to funding women of color running for office, so I created my own PAC. and made sure that the next generation of women that are interested in running for office had that support that they needed. And again, having good mentors is a great opportunity for anyone that's interested. And I'm here and available for any of our Pakistani American women that are interested in running. Want to give them that step forward and open that door for them as well. Much needed here, and looking forward to more.
Sabina Saiba, what can make Pakistani Americans vote for any candidate of their choice?
So what is you going to get your Pakistani Americans to come out and vote? First of all, you really have to care about the issues, and you really have to understand how important your vote is. A lot of people I've talked to will sometimes bring back baggage from Pakistan and think that if they get involved, they cannot make a difference. But you really need to understand is that all the hard work you do, all to make money, to build a good life for yourself, all of that is where your tax dollars go is dictated by the policy that happens in Congress, that happens in Senate, that happens at your local governments, at your county governments. And if you don't have a seat at the table, you will really not ever get to decide. Or if you don't have a say in the policies, you will never get to decide where your money goes. So you will always be a donor community, and people will, would love to tap into you. But if you want to become an impactful community which has a say in the policies, then you have to go out and vote. And that's what we have to understand. We have to educate. We have to get more involved. And there have been things that have happened in the country that have impacted Muslims and Pakistanis in a very big way. After 9/11, things have changed for Pakistanis here in the US. And so we have to understand that to make these things normalized, to be an integrated part of this country and your community, you have to vote. You have to come out and be involved.
Professor Sahab, one definitely loses a lot by not voting. How can Pakistani Americans be made active voters?
So you're right, the Pakistanis do the vote in big numbers, and the fact is they don't. But that's not unique to Pakistanis. This is true for Germans who live in America or blacks. The problem is that you need to have a cause which you care about or a candidate who excites you. And this is one of the reasons Trump gets elected, because his base, they really get excited. I mean, his rallies are packed because he's such a crazy guy that you have to be there to see what he does. So this is the case. So we have not had somebody who's passionate about causes that Pakistanis care about. But it's a change. If you look at the Muslims in general, there are a lot more Muslims and Muslim causes were elected to the Congress already. We know several names which Trump has outlined. And this trend is starting. So you're right, it's not true, but give us a cause, a reason to come out and vote. Because if either way, it doesn't matter, this way or that way, then people have trouble finding time and getting out and going to vote.
Professor Fazan, do you go along with him?
You see, many Pakistanis are involved through Muslim organizations and they're in leadership positions. So in that way, they contribute, not specifically under the Pakistani auspices or Pakistani American organizations. In that way, they have been very active, very successful, and the forefront. And we see that their presence is noted and acknowledged by many, and in that voter registrations, heading mosque committees, and being involved in local Muslim communities and leading the way. So Pakistanis have contributed a lot, and they have served their community well in that way, because the Muslim identity on a whole takes precedent over only Pakistani identity.
Sajid Tarar Sahab, though overall Muslim voters are insignificant, but how your Republican Party tries to mobilize different communities to vote on polling day.
हमारे पाकिस्तानियों की डेमोक्रेट पार्टी पे लीड करना, रिपब्लिकन पार्टी से दूर रहना, वो उसकी वजह ये है हमारे ज्यादातर पाकिस्तानी उन स्टेटों में रहते हैं जहां डेमोक्रेट पार्टी जो है वो डोमिनेट करती है. वहां के गवर्नर, वहां के सेनेटर, वहां के कांग्रेसमैन ज्यादा डेमोक्रेट है. तो वो उसी भेड़ चाल पे उनके साथ पीछे पीछे चलते हैं। मैं हमेशा ये कोशिश करता रहता हूँ बताने की उनको कि जिस तरह आपने मुझसे पूछा कि इस वक्त अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन जो हैं वो वाइस प्रेसिडेंट के कैंडिडेट पे आने के लिए साथ जो बाइडेन के आएंगे। अब डेमोक्रेट पार्टी पे अगर जाएं, उनके किचन टेबल में जाएं, तो पाकिस्तानी उस टेबल पे मौजूद नहीं है। उस टेबल पे सिर्फ सबसे पहले माइनॉरिटी अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन को समझा जाता है, दूसरे नंबर पे हिस्पैनिक कम्युनिटी को माइनॉरिटी समझा जाता है। पाकिस्तानी बहुत पीछे हैं वहां भी, और तीसरे नंबर पे अगर साउथ एशिया से किसी को लें तो वो इंडियंस को प्रेफर करते हैं, क्योंकि उनके नंबर ज्यादा है, उनकी पार्टिसिपेशन ज्यादा है। यहाँ पे सियासत में आप दो तरीकों से पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, या वोटर्स के जरिए, वोट्स के जरिए, या पैसे के जरिए। हम दोनों चीजों में पीछे हैं। वो ये एक टेक्निकल सा इशू है, उसमें पाकिस्तानी का किसी टिकट पे आना ऑलमोस्ट इम्पॉसिबल। उसकी वजह यह है, ना हमारे वोट हैं, ना हम फाइनेंशियली सपोर्ट करते हैं। हम अभी तक पीपल्स पार्टी और पीटीआई से नहीं निकल सके। ये एक ट्रेजेडी है। इसमें से हमें अभी टाइम लगेगा। हमें सोचना पड़ेगा कि अगर हमने यहाँ रहना है तो अपनी प्रेजेंस फील करानी है। कितना अरसा इस हम सियासी पार्टीज यहाँ की लोकल सियासत से बाहर रह सकेंगे। ये हमारे लिए अच्छा नहीं है। हमें अपनी प्रेजेंस फील करानी पड़ेगी। अपने बच्चों को बताना पड़ेगा कि लोकल सियासत में हिस्सा लेना है। ज्यादातर अभी तक भी मैं खुद लॉ स्कूल में गया हूँ यहाँ, हमारे अमेरिकन लॉ स्कूलों में पाकिस्तानी बच्चों के बड़ी कम जो तादाद है। ज्यादातर बच्चे जहाँ उनके माँ बाप उनको आईटी में, क्योंकि आईटी में जॉबों के हालात अच्छे हैं, डॉक्टर्स पहले मेडिकल स्कूलों में भेजते थे, अब आईटी स्कूलों में भेजते हैं। लॉ स्कूल्स में उनके जाने की तादाद बहुत ही कम है। तो मेरे ख्याल में ये सोचना चाहिए कि हमारे पाकिस्तानी बच्चे ना सिर्फ लॉ स्कूलों में जाएं, देखें अपने हकूक क्या हैं, हमने सियासत में किस तरह हिस्सा लेना है, हमने पाकिस्तान को और अपनी कौम को किस तरह रिप्रेजेंट करना है। ये बहुत जरूरी है।
Khalid Mahmood Sahab, how do you encourage British Pakistanis to get registered as voters and next come out to vote on polling day?
Obviously, for any elected member, it's important to get people to be registered. It's important that you get them out to vote. The way we look at registration is that we ensure through local programs of getting people registered, making sure that they understand the value of registration. We still have issues with certain amount of registration. We have an issue currently with this Conservative government, which has changed the method of registration. So partly when you get a right-wing party in, what they tend to do is to reduce the number of electorate. So you have to be even more vigilant and even more driven to support your community, and therefore getting them to understand by them not having a say, they're not able to determine what the policies are. So it has to be a concerted campaign within the community. When it comes to votes, you have to campaign again that constituency to get them out to vote, but you have a report throughout your term. This is not just about turning up at election times or when you need them. That's when they become hesitant about who you are. But if you're there supporting them throughout, looking at their issues and dealing with them, that is what's important.
Professor Sahab, if an Indian American can aspire to become a Democrat presidential candidate, what can Pakistani American do other than daydreaming?
Pakistanis have become mayors of small villages or small towns, and they have been involved in the local level, at the state level. They are very much involved as running campaigns, as campaign managers. So they are strategically involved. As far as candidates are concerned, they are symbolic representation, and as the Indian community or the people of Indian origin are moving forward, actually they pave the way for everybody else also in that way. And it is a good lead to follow, but we will see more people of Pakistani origin going for higher offices in the near future. We are well integrated with American society. We are well integrated with the political system, and we'll see more and more presence of Pakistani Americans. They are more organized. They are more mature as a community, and they are moving away from this concept of dividing ourselves on Pakistani political parties' terms and lines. I think that mentality is fading away.
Professor Sahab, if an Indian American can aspire to become a Democrat presidential candidate, what can Pakistani American do other than daydreaming?
Daydreaming, yeah. I guess we should be taking an aspiration that looking at Kamala Harris, which is a half Indian candidate, aspire to be president, maybe a vice president ticket, we don't know. That's heartwarming. This to me is not discouraging. This means the process has begun. People are taking notice. In our district where I live, there's an Indian guy who is our congressperson, and we have been invited to contribute money. So this is good. Having a desi guy representing us is better. Uska naam hai Rohit Khanna, goes by Ro Khanna, District 13th District of California. So this is just getting started. So my point is, it's not discouraging कि भाई उन्होंने कर लिया हमें नहीं हुआ. Our time is coming. We have to get organized. लोगों के पास पैसे हैं. They have money. They have ambition, and we are all busy running companies, doing interesting things. So slowly, once you reach some level in your career, then politics makes sense. So we are getting there. I would not be disheartened. I'm hopeful.
Thanks to all of our distinguished guests who joined us from different countries. In the next program, we'll focus on another burning issue of your interest. Thanks for joining us. Stay blessed.